my name is Danica and today I have my January wrap-up. The first book that I picked up for my year of reading in color was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This is one that I've been meaning to read for a long time. I did a review at the library, which I will link below, but suffice to say I loved this one. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it's going to stick with me a long time. I loved the celebration of all different types of love between women and the variety of female characters who are all dealing with sexism and racism in their own ways. I was expecting this to be a bleak book, but it ended up being so life-affirming by the end. I highly recommend this one. It's definitely one I'll be coming back to. Next I had a sponsored review, which wasn't part of my year of reading in color, and that's All the Devil's Here by Aster Penn. This is a lesbian dystopian book, and I liked some aspects, but I felt like it was a little bit uneven for me. I also really didn't like the description of the person of color love interest in this book, who is constantly being described as wild or being compared to an animal. After that, I listened to the audiobook of The Truth About Stories by Thomas King, which was a reread for me, and I loved it just as much the second time around. This is a series of Massey lectures that are about Native history and culture and colonialism, as well as the power of stories and how stories can change the world. I would recommend this to anyone who loves stories or who's interested in Native literature or history. It's thought-provoking and it's funny, and I look forward to picking up more from Thomas King in the near future. Then I read Smoketown by Tanea D. Johnson, which is another dystopian book with a lesbian main character. This is a book that I adored some aspects of, but didn't really like others. The world building is incredible and so intricate, especially for how short the book was. It's under 200 pages. It's about a world after global warming, and specifically this one city that was quarantined years ago during a horrific epidemic, and in response to that it has now banned birds from the city. I also really liked one of the main characters who has this magical ability to bring things that she creates to life, but unfortunately she's not the only main character, and the other two viewpoints that we get I just wasn't interested in, and the main plot was something that I didn't really have much interest in either. I still think it's worth picking up for the world alone, but I was disappointed that the rest didn't really grab me. This is another one that I reviewed at the library if you want more detail on it. I read the novella Natural Selection by Melinda Lowe, which is book 1.5 of the adaptation duology. The adaptation duology was my #1 pick of my top 10 of 2014, so you know I loved it, and I was excited to get another taste of this world. It is just a short novella, but I really enjoyed it. I liked learning a little bit more about Amber, and I thought the story wrapped up really well. Again, I'll link the library review down below. And then I read the Writers of Color Goodreads group's pick of the month, which was The Book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Henriquez. I really enjoyed this book for the most part. I really liked the writing style. I liked seeing these glimpses of different South and Central American immigrants' experiences in the US. My only real problem with the book is that the main plot revolves around Maribel, who is a teenage girl with brain damage who's trying to recover some language skills and memory retention. We get different perspectives of what this is like for other people, especially her mother, but we don't really get her own perspective, and I wish that she could have had her own voice in telling her story. The last book I read in January was Tell Me Again How a Crush Should Feel by Sara Farizan. First of all, I love that title. This is a lesbian young adult book about an Iranian American girl. I liked parts of this book, and I appreciate that there's more lesbian young adult out there now that's not about white girl main characters. There is one aspect in this book, and I won't spoil you for it, but I'll just say there is one part that felt cartoonish for me and a little over the top. I did like most of the characters, and I liked that Leela was self-aware from the beginning of the book that she's a lesbian and makes little mental jokes about it throughout the book, because it means we got to skip that angst. And it was a light, quick read for me, and I was excited to see what would happen next, but it just didn't blow me away overall. So those were all the books that I read in January. As for the Year of Reading in Color project, I think it's going well. There has been a couple of times where I suddenly desperately want to read a book that's not included in the Year of Reading in Color project. Mostly books about Sappho have been on my mind lately, but I'm also really excited about lots of the books that I will be reading, and I've been having fun adding books to the list, and I think in February I'm going to have sort of a romance-themed month for Valentine's Day. I think this has been a good start to my reading year, especially starting out with The Color Purple. Let me know if you read any of these and what you thought of them, and if you have a January wrap-up, feel free to link it in the comments and I'll definitely check it out. And thank you for watching. Bye!